everyone, and welcome to today's Technology Careers Super Fair, and welcome to the Government and Public Services Focus session. My name's Sam. I'm from a company called Prosper. We're helping to put on today's event. Before we go any further, I would like to quickly acknowledge and pay respects to the traditional custodians of the land. For me here in the city of Melbourne, that is the Wurundjeri and the Boonwurrungs peoples. I'd also like to pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging. With me today in the Government and Public Services Technology Super Fair focus session is a few people. We've got Dominic joining us from ABS, Isabel from the Department of Defence, and finally John joining us from the DTA. And we've got great panel here today to answer some questions that I'm sure you might all have about working in the government more broadly, or particularly for these individual organisations. If you've got any particular questions, make sure you chuck it into the Q&A function, but I've got a few myself that I'll probably start off with. Firstly, I might throw to Isabel. Can you start off with a quick introduction to yourself and tell us a little bit about the Department of Defence and government more broadly?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I'm Isabel. I've been with the Department of Defence for about over a year now. I do the marketing and engagement activities for the Defence grad and entry level program, which basically means I get to chat to a bunch of students all the time, which is what I love doing. So it's a great one for me. In terms of Defence and what we offer for grads is like 3 or 4 different pathways. So depending on whatever it is that you're actually interested in about your degree, Defence has a pathway for you. And we're civilian employees as well. So there's no uniform or fitness or any of that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, Isabel. Dominic, tell us a little about yourself.
Thank you, Sam. My name's Dominic. I've been with the ABS for 12 years now, and I've been looking after the graduate recruitment program for the last 5 years for the ABS. So the ABS is the National Statistical Agency for Australia. So we like to say that we provide governments with the data they need to make informed decisions. So nothing really in the way of policy, but lots of information, data, statistics that we provide, and we collaborate with other government agencies, both federal and state, and also work with business as well. So what we do with the ABS in terms of our graduate recruitment, we have 2 channels. One of them is the data stream. And so that's particularly working with data. So a lot of data scientists and methodologists, as well as more broadly analyst roles. And then we have a separate ICT recruitment program. So yeah, you can apply for both. They're 2 separate, they run at the same time, but they are 2 separate channels for the ABS. For the data stream, we're recruiting for 24 other government departments. So that's a really great way to get in. If you just have to apply once, and you get the opportunity to have your application considered by so many more departments and agencies.
So for everyone on the call today, you're here to represent both the ABS Correct. And also the wider Australian government as well, if that's correct, for the data stream.
That's correct, yeah.
Awesome. John, I might throw to you next. Tell us a little about yourself, DTA, but also the digital stream as well.
Sure. Hi, guys. My name's John. I have been with the Digital Transformation Agency, just calls the DTA, for about 6 months now. And I work in the emergent talent team. And so what we do is we run a variety of entry pathway programs. The one we'll be talking about today is the graduate program, but we have others, so please go check out our website. And so we will be running the digital stream. So as Dominic talked about the data stream, we run the digital version. And so with one application, you'll hit multiple agencies. I won't say number because we're still getting more agencies coming to us asking for graduates. And so agencies come to us and say, we want how many graduates, and we will run the recruitment applications of those graduates. And so if you have an IT or digital degree, and interested in starting your career in government, we're a big player in that area.
I'm sure there's a fair few grads on the call who are in the
Pretty
digital,
sure hopefully all are.
Yeah, digital space. So maybe I'll start with you, John, in terms of my next question. Most important piece of advice you give any students aspiring to work within the Australian government more broadly, particularly though within the digital space?
My biggest piece of advice is prepare to be flexible. You will have a chance to do pretty much anything you want in government. It's there's so much opportunity, particularly with your technology degrees. Government doesn't have enough. We didn't have enough years ago when a lot of our programs to help recruit more people were implemented, because the need for them continues to grow. You are in an amazing opportunity. I suggest taking full advantage of it. If you get into any of the graduate streams, whether it's us or data or STEM, take advantage of all the resources you'll be provided. You'll be provided with mentorship. You'll be provided with career liaison officers to help with career development and tools, and people helping you apply for other positions. Take advantage of all of it. It's why it's there. They want to help you develop. They want to help you grow. You're a resource.
Isabel, same question. Any advice you give students wanting to work in Department of Defence or government more broadly?
Heaps, so much advice. But my kind of key two things, and they're kind of linked, would be to find out your why. So what makes a difference to you for what you want in your workplace. So if that's flexibility, if it's good pay, if it's having an impact on the Australian community by using your skills, find out whatever that is. And then the key is being able to articulate that throughout your application. So find a way to, be it a sneaky Google search, find out what's going on somewhere in government that you're super passionate about, and use that throughout your application to really demonstrate why you want to work where you're applying to, and kind of concentrate your efforts to where it actually matters to you. If you do get an offer, you'll accept it, essentially.
What's your why, Isabel?
My what? My why is because you've heard this before. You know what I'm about to say. So I joined government because I stopped wanting to make a rich white man richer. So I essentially joined the public service to kind of make a difference with the skills that I have, which is talking endlessly, as I'm sure all of you are now very aware.
Dominic, different question. Okay. Tell us a little bit about what you look for in an application, both for the ABS and just in the data stream as well.
Sure. I think one thing that's important to stress is we look for everything, and everything's equally important. So there's no weighting or like, okay, if you have a fantastic academic record, that'll get you so far. But if you don't have the personal skills, the soft skills, such as working in teams, collaborating, then you're going to be marked down, so to speak. So you do need to reflect on what the employer, and in this case the Australian government, are looking at. And one of the things we do in government is have things like selection criteria. So we're quite upfront saying this is how you'll be judged. And I know in the data stream and also in our ICT stream, we'll have those in our applicant information kit. There's 5 criteria. And technical skills is one of them, but all those other skills such as communication skills, teamwork, things like that, emotional resilience, things like that, they're very important also. So you've got to be able to try and think about how you can expound on that in your application and in an interview. And what we'll do is we'll try and assess those criteria at least once throughout the process. So for example, in the written application, we might assess 2 or 3 of those criteria. When we go to a video interview or a face-to-face interview, it'll be different criteria. But overall, we'll assess each criteria. So we're looking for the whole picture of who you are. So your technical skills are important, but don't neglect the other things. And so one little tip I would give to you is that if you're looking at those criteria, think of examples. You know that we're going to test them, whether it's, you know, on the spot in a face-to-face interview. So think of examples that you can use about, you know, to tell us who you are, because we're going to interview a lot of people. We want you to stand out. We want you to succeed. So that's another thing that we like a pool of candidates. So we just don't want to recruit one person for one role. We like lots of people to succeed and potentially to join us.
Is there any particular things that you can sort of, any grads that have stood out in the past that have done something particularly well, whether it be talking about, you know, their employment history,
Sure.
talking about some experience or anything like that? Any other?
Sure. I think if just a little plug for our booth. So if you come to our booth, we've actually got the question. I've got a slide with the question that we're asking in our ICT recruitment this year, and it's actually tell us about something that you know about, what's your passion in ICT, and how the ABS as an employer, how we might be using it. We might be using it already, or how we could use it. So, you know, we want to understand, you know, where's your drivers? What are you passionate about? What value can you add? You know, we'll get thousands of applications. So to stand out, we want to see that passion. Sort of what Isabel said before about why are you applying? Is it just another application? Well, that's not going to cut it. You know, we want a little bit more that you've understood it, you've researched the organisation, and you know what you think you can bring to it that's a little bit different. So it's usually a combination of those skills, as I said before.
Fantastic. Same question for you, John. I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add to that. Is there any tips you could give grads looking to apply, you know, in the within the digital stream particularly?
Sure. So to expand on what Dominic said about the selection criteria, a good place to start if you're not sure how to fill those, answer those questions, is to look up the STAR method of answering selection criteria. So STAR stands for situation, task, action, result. And it's just a good way to get your thoughts in order so you can answer the question. That is the starting point. There are tons of resources online on answering selection criteria. Use them. Do your research. Take your time, write out a good example. Also, make sure you answer the question. Quite often we'll get applications, and these are incredibly smart people. They could do the work. But in the selection criteria, they have just gone on random tangents that have nothing to do with the question we are asking. Unfortunately, those people don't succeed because of it. When you're finished writing your selection criteria, have I answered the question? And have I answered what they're actually asking? Teamwork is a classic. There's always a teamwork question. Give an example when you work in a team. Don't give an example when you worked by yourself. That's not a team. So those will be my big ones. STAR and answer the question.
Isabel, this one's for you. For students who land a job with defence, or just even more generally, again, for the government, what advice would you give them to help them survive and thrive in their first year? And is there anything they shouldn't do?
Yeah, totally. So my kind of big point here would be to trust that you're going to be given all the tools and all the learning and development that you need to succeed. So don't expect when you first walk through the door to be able to start sprinting head on into the role. You're never going to be asked to do that straight out of the bat. You'll always be provided the support, the training, and the learning and development to make you succeed in your role. So take full advantage of that and just kind of rest assured in the fact that the first day is always the hardest day and things only get better from there. And then in terms of what not to do, I wouldn't there's a tendency to feel like a bit of an imposter, the classic imposter syndrome, when you first start in the first kind of professional workplace that you're going to be in. And I would urge you to just resist that and know that there's a reason that you've been selected as one of however many people that have applied, and you have been assessed at several stages as the person that is suitable for this role. So kind of feel comfort in that you are the right person for this role, and you aren't expected to do it all perfectly immediately. So give yourself a bit of a mental break and understand that you will grow and learn over the time, and that's totally okay and it's expected.
Awesome. Dominic, same question. Any advice for what sort of advice do you give grads when they first start?
Sure.
ABS.
Yeah, basically to take advantage of everything that's going on offer. So push yourself out of your comfort zone, for example. So in the ABS, we will typically do some small project work with grads, and we'll mix grads up. So you might have ICT grads working with people who are working on the census, for example, or might have in the population or social stats area. So we'll, take advantages of those opportunities to learn something different. We also have a shadowing opportunity, so where you get to shadow a senior executive and see what they do, and I suppose that bigger, broader picture of strategic, how organisations work strategically. So yeah, take advantage of everything that's on offer. In terms of what not to do, probably just the reverse of that, just doing the job. So if we were wanting to just recruit people at entry-level positions, we would do that. But this is a graduate program, so the key, we call it a graduate development program, and the development is the most important side of things. We see our graduates as future leaders. And as I said, I've been doing graduate recruitment for 5 years in the ABS, and I can see some names that have come through our graduate programs. I can see them going up the hierarchy, so to speak. So we are developing those graduates to be future leaders. We have a classic one where, we say to people, I want you to be my boss one day, So we want you to succeed. If you just go in and do the job and do the bare minimum, then you're probably not going to get the most out of it, career-wise and from a personal perspective as well.
Building off that, actually, it's a really good point. I might throw to John for this part. And there's a couple of questions that are coming through the chat that I'm going to jump to next, just for everyone's benefit. But John, what sort of support do you see in the digital stream that grads get in their first year to help them survive and thrive? Anything across the wider government too, you might be aware of. Oh, hold on, John, you're on mute.
There we go. Okay, yeah. So straight up, some of the support does differ because we run the stream, and it will depend on which government agency you end up with. But support can range from financial assistance to relocate to the area you need to be, primarily Canberra. However, there are positions in other cities. Assistance with accommodation. You will have career liaison officers, as I said before, who will assist with your day-to-day. You will also get a grad certificate by the end of the digital streams graduate program. This will be in either government informatics or network and cybersecurity. You'll be given mentorship. These people will help you adjust from being a student to being a professional APS employee that represents the government. And I know people who still use their mentor to this day, even though they're no longer in the programs where they first met. So yeah, there's a lot of support on offer, and we always recommend taking it.
Not sure if either Dominic or Isabel wanted to build on that at all. Otherwise, I might go back to one of the questions about cybersecurity, which is obviously a big growth area.
Huge.
Across the government, across everywhere. John, do you want to give us a bit of a overview more broadly of the Australian government in cybersecurity?
Sure. So cybersecurity is one of those areas that is expanding considerably, and there isn't enough of it. We actually have just started a collab program with Defence called the ADF CyberGap program, which is all about encouraging people to go to Defence and APS to do cybersecurity. There are multiple departments that will be recruiting cybersecurity professionals through the graduate program. These include Home Affairs, the list goes onwards. Please have a look at our list that they all need cybersecurity professionals. It's a huge growth area. It's the best thing I can say.
Speaking of one department that's going to hire a lot of cyber grads, Isabel,
yes.
Can you tell us a little bit
more? So Defence has an entire intelligence agency dedicated to signals intelligence, which is essentially cybersecurity. Yep, the Australian Signals Directorate. We've got a representative from ASD today at our booth, so if you wanted to come chat to them a bit more about the actual nitty gritty and not talk to someone with a marketing and HR background, feel free, because I don't have any kind of technical knowledge on it, but it's something that is a huge area of growth at the moment, and ASD is rapidly expanding.
Awesome.
Sorry, can I I'll just say, look, if you are interested in cybersecurity, apply for multiple areas. So apply for the digital stream, but also apply for Defence. So I believe you're also in the intelligence stream as well. And I think they apply for themselves. So hit as much applications as you can.
Yeah. You might as well apply for everyone who does cybersecurity. Give yourself the best chance. Put it all through.
Let's do ABS.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the new cyber.
While we're on ABS, actually, there was a question here about, and this is actually probably relevant for everyone as well, key dates in terms of both applications, but also starting. I think you've already answered the attendee here about when your dates are. We just want to let everyone know when do grads start, and is that a hard and fast rule?
Generally, our graduate program starts in February each year. One of the things that we do in the ABS and maybe other government departments is sometimes we can bring you in early if you're finished your studies and you're wanting to work and there's work available. So we bring in people on what's called an ongoing, like a temporary contract, so which is a great way to get started before you hit the ground with the grad program in February. Just sort of related to the other question, we also run a student vacation program each year. We typically pick up about 20 ICT students, many of whom become permanent full-time grads. And what the great thing is they work over the summertime, and I know that a lot of them stay on maybe 1 day a week, 2 days a week while they're doing their studies in their final year. So lots of opportunities. So I'll maybe throw it over to other departments.
John, any opportunities for students to start, in the wider government, the digital space, while they're still studying at university, or building on from that, when do students start the digital graduate program? Just unmute again. Yep.
I did it again. So like ABS, data stream, we will be starting in February. It's pretty standard. So start date for most of the streams. Now, if anyone's still studying, we actually have a couple of, we'll still be studying next year. We do have a couple of programs that you might be interested in. We have the digital cadetship, which is where you will work 2 days a week as an APS employee as a minimum, and then you'll continue with your studies. And the only prerequisite is you have the eligible degree, say it's the same list as graduates, Australian citizen, and you are not in your first year and will graduate within the next 3 years. So you can actually do it for a few years if you're still a couple of years away. And at the end of that, you will be given a permanent position in the department you're with. So if you want to go start while you're studying and finish without a grad year, that's a great way to go about it. We have a lot of people in that program. Additionally, as I briefly mentioned before, we have a new initiative called the ADF Cyber Gap, and that's all about encouraging people to join defence or the APS. Now, that doesn't have a position at the end of it. The idea is just to give you a taste of those areas. But that program does include course fee payments of up to $15,000, ICT payments, mentorship, training from APS or ADF members, and assistance in your studies. So there's a lot you can do while still studying.
Isabel, your turn as well. Anything for students while they're still studying?
Absolutely. So we have the STEM cadetship. So if you're studying anything to do with science, technology, engineering, or math, which includes software engineering and everything like that, we will essentially give you permanent employment straight away. You'll be doing part-time hours in your 60 days of work placement minimum. And then we also cover your STEM-related university fees. So dig into your HECS debt for you, essentially. And then our grads will start in January, February 2022, or if you're looking at intelligence, there's a mid-year intake as well, because that totally depends on security clearances and all that kind of stuff.
And this one's for everyone as well. Is roles only based in Canberra? I'll start with you, Isabel, for Department of Defence.
So for 2 to 3 of our pathways, they are mostly in Canberra. So if you're looking to join policy and corporate or intelligence, you will be expected to relocate to Canberra, which we pay for. And then our technical stream and research and innovation have wider, almost every capital city around Australia has roles for those pathways in it. And you can rotate around between there as well, COVID permitting. So yes and no is the answer.
Dominic, same question.
Sure. The ABS has offices in every capital city, plus Geelong, and we offer ICT grads the opportunity to work in pretty much any of those offices, apart from Darwin, perhaps. So whether you're in Hobart or Perth or Brisbane, we work across virtual teams anyway, so I can't recall the last time we had an ICT grad have to relocate. If you're more in the sort of data science area, then more like Melbourne, Canberra, and Adelaide are our specialties. But again, like, yeah, if you do relocate to Canberra, we cover relocation expenses, but don't have to.
Awesome. I might do a bit of we've only got a couple of minutes left, so I might let John answer that same question about Canberra opportunities, maybe even provide some information on support that's in place for students who move to Canberra. And then we'll do one final question each, I reckon.
Yep, sure. So make it quick. Like Isabel said, we'll provide some assistance depending on the department. Most of it is in Canberra. However, depending on what the agency is looking for, there can be positions in other cities.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's still coming in.
Awesome. Final question for everyone, and I'm going to start with you, John. Bully you 2 questions in a row. In one sentence, why should students apply for the digital stream?
You hit a lot of people with one application.
Easy.
Yeah, you're all studying, you're all got exams on. I'm sure you got 5 assignments due with 4 courses. We've all been there. You'll be given a huge opportunity to start in government. You don't have to finish where you start. There's a huge amount of movement going on in government now. It's more about working for government as opposed to a department or an agency. This is the beginning of your career. Take advantage of it, guys.
Dominic, same question, but maybe why should grads apply for ABS, but even just more broadly, the Australian government?
I think it's just a great opportunity to have a role that is challenging and rewarding, good job security. So it just goes all the way back to what Isabel said, find your why. Why is important, what's important to you. So a range of roles, opportunity to move around, both within location and across teams and things like that. So ask yourself why there's so many people who have worked in the government for 40 odd years, because it's a good place to work. Don't get bored. I said I've been here 12 years and I think I've done 4 or 5 different roles. Very happy. So come and join us.
Isabel, final question.
I'll make this
thing.
snappy for you.
Yep.
I would say we have big toys that no one else has. So think our ships, our subs, our planes. And then we also have half of Australia's intelligence agencies under our umbrella as well. So there's things you really can't do anywhere else. But having said that, anywhere in Australian government, if you're motivated by impact, is going to be an amazing place to end up. So put in an application for wherever it is. And if your why connects, you'll end up where you're meant to be.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Isabel. Thanks, Dominic. And thanks, John, for providing that awesome insight into the Australian government and each of your individual streams or departments.